Hey, what's going on? I am Siix. I am the creator of Godstorm, a tactical TTRPG, and I just want to talk a little bit about the Hemogoblin today, and just kind of discuss why I created it and what it kind of does. So, what is Godstorm? It's a tactical TTRPG in the same lineage as Lancer Beacon and D&D 4E. Long turns, a lot of daily powers, very gamey. Um, Roleplay in combat is secondary to the physical you doing things. Kind of very board gamey, very skirmish game. Um, Love it or hate it, it is enjoyable to me and many others. Players are known as marked ones, and each marked one has the ability to teleport, known as a blink. And this is pretty much the foundation of Godstorm. This is when I bring this game to people, it is everyone can blink. Whether you enjoy that, you know, that's kind of up to you. But that is, if you like it, you're gonna enjoy Godstorm. Anyway, classes in Godstorm are very similar to Lancer, which I used as kind of a template of this game. You are going to take one level or one class each level, and you can either go into a new class or an existing one. Um, each class maxes out at 3. What's up, Scarlet? My little cat is here with me. So each class maxes out at 3, and the max level of Godstorm is 9, so you're going to be multi-classing at some point. In addition, there's also classes known as newfangled classes, and these are going to be a single level, very similar to a prestige class, but any class can take them, and they are weird. They are not traditional classes. They're going to be adding something unique, and you wouldn't expect someone to have more than one of these in their 9 levels. They're only available after your 3rd level, so you have to get a feel of the game first before you can do them. They are complex, and they take a long time to kind of master. So the Hemogoblin, the reason I bring this up is the Hemogoblin is a newfangled class available at 2+, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But first, I need to talk about mana. Mana is a resource that is used to cast spells, blinks, and some other abilities. You start combat with an amount of mana, 2, 4, 6, or 8, depending on your tier, and you gain mana at the start of each round, typically 1, except for level 9, which you get 2. So what this means is mana is limited. You aren't going to be able to cast every single spell. A wizard in 5e, when they're 18th level, they are going to have functionally unlimited spell slots. You cannot spend an entire combat where you spend all of your spells. It is impossible. I mean, if you're doing that, I don't want to be in your game. So resources. There are no healer classes. There are only support classes. There is a singular instance of healing inside the entire game, and that does not come from patches. Each player gets patch kits and restores. Patch kits heal HP. If you are below half HP, they set you to 1 above half HP. And if you are above half HP, they set you to full. So there is no specific number that it sets you. The more HP you have, the more effective patch kits are going to be. Restores are similar. They give mana, but they give it based on the tier of the mana, or the tier of play you were in. So you get more as you go on with restores, making them exponentially more powerful. So the reason I want to talk about both those things and mana and all that is because of blood magic. This is what you get when you take Hemogoblin. This is your innate ability. This is the class, functionally. So you no longer have a mana pool or gain mana. Instead, each mana costs 4 HP. And that can't be lowered in any way. This HP loss can't bring you to less than 10. You gain 10 HP, so that's kind of the offset for the above. All restores become patch kits. Also of note that patch kits are a quick action. You get 2 quick actions, so this kind of eats into your action economy, whereas restores were free actions, so you can use an infinite amount of those and they don't impact your turn at all. So a little bit less action economy here. And you gain fresh blood, which is once you take damage, you basically get this resource, and you can use it to spend on spells beforehand. It gives you a little barrier, per se. Come on, mouse. So, doing more with patches. Um, because patches are going to be needed to give you HP, because you won't innately get any, you're going to need a way to use them more efficiently, more effectively, and there are a few ways with feats and general abilities that you can take when building. So the first one is all inside a feat bucket. Super good for any Hemogoblins. Usually you'll probably take at least one of these, if not all three. But Experienced Medic, you spend up to 2 patches when you patch. If 2 are used, the target is set to max HP. So if you're at 1 HP and you want to spend 1 quick action instead of 2 to get you to full, this is it. This is probably the most efficient way of using patch kits. They are incredibly helpful when used like this. You are going to have 2 patch kits minimum, but based on the stats you take, you will likely have probably 3 to 4 at the time of play. Defensive patching is when you use a patch kit, you gain resistance to damage until the end of your turn. So you can kind of patch yourself up and then go take your OAs or go do something stupid and be kind of safe for that. Not super helpful most of the time, but the times where it does come in handy, it really comes in handy. So it's one of the things to think about. And Perfect Patch is when you patch, you may clear up to 2 afflictions that were not self-inflicted, and you grant the target, which would be you, 5 temp HP. So you're getting a lot out of this. You're going to be patching anyway. You might as well take it, as at least if I were to build it. Not needed, but damn good. Free 5 temp HP on top of healing. You're probably looking at like 15 HP per patch kit minimum on these. Just incredibly good. And then the 2 below are general abilities. These eat your AP, which is a class resource showing how much you have, like how much you can do. Spells cost AP, abilities cost AP, things like that. So these get you 1 patch kit and 1 mana restore. You can't take several prepared medic, for example. But if you wanted multiple patch kits, you can also take Rainy Day Restore and get another one. So kind of consolidates things a little bit for you. I think if you really wanted to, you could have 6 patch kits at 3rd level, and most people would have 1. So pretty interesting what you can do with that. So what's the payoff? Obviously, we've consolidated our mana into our HP, but what does that do for us? We can cast spells beforehand, so why are we doing this? So Blood Barrier, after you cast a spell that costs HP, you create a temp HP barrier on you or an ally, and the temp HP is equal to half the HP spent to cast the spell. For context, most things cost 2 mana, larger spells cost 4, and then specialty spells cost 6. And it's 4 HP per spell. So if you are casting a spell that costs 6, it's 24, and you're giving someone a temp HP of 12, which is going to be half of their HP at this point in time, at level 3 at least. Just absolutely insane what you can do with Blood Barrier if you're going down a supporting route. You can always use this on yourself as well, and then be walking around tanky as all hell with a huge HP bar. There's only a few spells that do cost 6. Most of the ones you're going to be casting are 2, so 8 HP, which is going to give you 4, which is still a healthy amount. Hemophilia, as an initial action, you can begin bleeding or end the bleeding affliction. Initial actions are free actions that are used at the start of your turn before you do anything. When you begin bleeding, or you are bleeding at the start of your turn, you gain 3 temp HP, or 6 if you are bloodied. Bloodied is when you're below half. And all temp HP is lost when you clear bleeding with this ability. So hemophilia is kind of like an anti-synergy with blood barrier a little bit. You have to kind of know when to take it off and what to do. Some more added context: bleeding is every time you move a tile, you take 1 HP, affecting your temp HP first. So if you aren't going to move at all, and you just want to make yourself bleeding, and you're bloodied, you get 6 temp HP, and it's free, and you can kind of just go on with your day, be really tanky. Or if you're gonna move up less than 5, you might as well, right? And then the last thing is exsanguinate, which is kind of, in my opinion, the reason that you would take this class. This is the bread and butter. Beyond your initial ability, this is going to be what you are likely going after with this. So it's a spell attack, 2 mana, so it's going to cost you 8 HP. And it's got a range of 5, which isn't the longest range, kind of like mid-range, and it's 1d6 piercing by default. Not a lot. A longsword deals 1d6, a bow deals 1d6, so that's not what you're looking for, because neither of those cost you 8 life. But the main thing is, if you attack a bloodied creature, you add a d6 to damage. If you attack a bleeding creature, you add a d6 to damage. If you are bleeding, you add a d6 to damage. When you crit with a piercing weapon, that's how you inflict bleeding. Bloodied is, again, half HP. And then this is one of the only instances where you actually heal HP on a class, and this is, if this spell kills a creature, you may heal 4 HP. And it's a May ability, so if you want to be bloodied, you can stay bloodied. If you don't want to be bloodied, take that 4 HP. And this is very powerful. If all 4 of these conditions are met, this does the same damage as the largest weapon you can use, or like a rogue that's fully buffed for their singular hit. And these conditions are not that difficult to beat. The bloodied, the attacking a bloodied creature and you being bleeding are something that you can pretty much guarantee. So you can kind of just deal 3d6 damage. Incredibly powerful, and the reason to take the class and fix all the issues you have with the innate ability. So synergy. There's obviously synergy, there's going to be anti-synergy. The main thing is classes that barely use mana benefit greatly from the extra resources and HP. The Berserker is all about running in, getting hit, and they don't use a ton of mana. The Gunslinger is a similar thing, where they kind of sit back and shoot a bunch. I don't know if any of their abilities beyond the blink actually uses mana. I don't remember. But both of these are in play testing. They have just, the main complaint was, I have nothing to use my mana on. And that's intentional. That's part of it. Thinking about how you can use mana is part of building a character. So we have the extra HP, the extra resources, the not needing to use mana. This is an easy way of saying, I don't want to deal with the mana. I don't want to deal with the gaining mana or anything. I just want to be very tanky. The other thing is hemophilia, which is the, you may begin bleeding or end bleeding and get your free temp HP. This slots in very good with classes that are already going to be bloodied, or they want to stack temp HP. So the Sunder Sword has abilities that only activate or are a lot stronger when they are bloodied. They can also force themselves to be bloodied, so they can immediately take full advantage of the 6 temp HP. The Necromancer at 3rd level has an ability where they can basically stack temp HP infinitely. Temp HP only takes the largest amount of it, but with Necromancer and the first two abilities, Blood Barrier and Hemophilia, you can take your temp HP and effectively just stack. You can take your actual HP and then stack temp HP with it. So you can become very tanky, very defensive, and overall very powerful. Now, Exsanguinate works well with everyone. It's very powerful. But with controllers, defenders, and supports that want to transition more to be strikers, this helps them a lot. So Soul Weaver and Terramancer are two casters that aren't typically long range, about 5 to 8 range. So within what you would want from Exsanguinate already, and they have a lot of defensive utility and controlling utility, but with this little bit of little oomph, they can really turn out some damage if they want to. So now we have the anti-synergy, and the main thing is the Electromancer. The Electromancer's entire identity is around surging. Surging, when you begin surging, you gain 2 mana. That doesn't do anything for us. At the start of your turn, the surging character takes 1d6 strong lightning damage, and the affliction ends. So this is strictly downsides. And having an entire character based around this, and having it completely built around downsides, is intentional. I think it is interesting if you overcome these abilities and this strict downside and play around it. Say that you come up with a build that doesn't give a rat's ass about the 1d6 strong that you'll take, because the Electromancer later on doesn't really, and you just want to crank out more damage. With surging, you think that the downside or the upsides outweigh the downsides with a bunch of other abilities that the Electromancer has, and the Hemogoblin can just crank that to 11, so you opt for it and you build around it. Overall, it is probably the the greatest anti-synergy, and I've had some complaints about it, but I'm interested to see when it works or if someone will actually build around this. So I need to talk about something very obvious, and this entire idea is just ripped one for one from Path of Exile. Path of Exile is one of my favorite games of all time. I recommend you play it if you're not going to, or if you don't and aren't familiar. It's a action RPG like Diablo, and it is all about character builds and doing crazy stuff and potentially breaking your build. So the two examples, Blood Magic and Chaos Inoculation. So Blood Magic removes all mana, you get 10% more life, skills cost life instead of mana, and skills reserve life instead of mana. Chaos Inoculation, your max life becomes 1. You're immune to chaos damage. Obviously, you can't do damn near anything, because all your skills cost life, and you have 1 life. You can't gain more than 1 life, you're just set to it. So, very obvious anti-synergy. If you take both of these, you break your character. They're not close together on the leveling tree, and there's no real reason for you to, as a new player, kind of go out of your way to do this. This is just the most extreme example. But as a developer, I kind of look at things like this and think that it's interesting. Maybe there is a way that you can make this work. Probably not. This is an extreme example. But if you were set to 1 life instead of 100, say you have 100 starting life and your max life becomes 1, isn't set to 1, then you can still scale your life and become immune to chaos damage and have all the effects of blood magic and this, that, and the other. Things like that are what I think about when I design classes like this. And I think it's interesting. I think that Hemogoblin has a ton of downsides, a ton of upsides, and mitigating the downsides can just produce a very powerful thing. So I've talked a lot about the mechanical side of things and not so much the lore part or how this fits into the universe. And that's because Godstorm is currently in pre-alpha and the lore parts are coming soon, I'll say. I don't even have flavor text for these abilities. The parts are moving, everything is changing. All of that will come afterwards. But I do have a very strong identity of what I want it to be, and I know how to hit that directly with the rest of my classes. So if you are interested, you can contact me. All that stuff's on screen. It'll be down below as well. And if you want to reach out and talk to me about the game or about your game or about anything Path of Exile 5e, feel free to talk to me about it. I would love it. And I hope you enjoyed. Peace.